Hi guys, I'm We're back with another video, and today I want to give my review um um Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer and fant4stic. Let's just get into this. Starting off with Rise of the Silver Surfer. By the way, this is the second part of my rewatching all the Fantastic Four movies. It's in preparation for Fantastic Four First Steps, so I already have my first part out. If you want to see that, and they were reviewed. The first the 1994 one and the 2005 one. So yeah, just getting into it. For the Rise of the Silver Surfer, I really like this movie. It's not as good as the 2005 one, but it's definitely better than the 1994 one, and I think that is a pretty good movie. So yeah, just starting off, it does get the spirit of the Fantastic Four down, which is like one of my favorite parts about about Fantastic Four the of 2005. So yeah, just starting off with some of the negatives. Some of the negatives are obviously Galactus. That was a big disappointment. I don't like the fact that he's a cloud. He should just be a big guy in purple costume. I mean, a cloud monster is just not interesting. And yeah, it's comic booky. These people are wearing blue suits with fours on them. They call themselves the Fantastic Four. They should just embrace the comic book side more, which is a problem that I have with this one and the next one that I'm going to review. So yeah, also a guy in that costume is badass. So yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool costume. So it doesn't really make sense that they didn't use it. I don't like that. They even tease it with them showing the helmet, going up to like a planet. But it's just the cloud taking the shape of that helmet that Galactus originally had, as like a reference, I guess. But yeah. Also, like I said, the casting is still really good for everybody. And now with Silver Surfer, I like the fact that Doug Jones does the mocap and Lawrence Fishburne does the voice. That was really cool. I think that. So yeah. Also, Silver Surfer has amazing casting, and Silver Surfer is really badass. And it was really cool. Like when he goes through the buildings, him going through the bus, him going through his surfboard, and then when he's like surfing down like the big like wave building in New York, that was really cool. Yeah, I like the fact that we focus on Johnny a little bit more here. That was cool. And yeah, but other complaints that I have is Sue's kind of a bitch in this movie. She just gets angry at Reed for trying to save the world instead of focusing on their wedding, and it's like, seriously, it's like, also she gets angry at him for dancing with girls at his bachelor party. And then she then implies that she did something much worse at her bachelorette party. So why were you angry in the first place? So yeah, it's like, yeah. Also, but yeah, they do bring back Doom, which I think was a mistake, because like just make Galactus a main villain. You already have Doom. You could use Doom another time, but like you don't have to bring back Doom every installment. You could just use Galactus as a main villain, and Silver Surfer is like another antagonist. So yeah, that didn't really make much sense. And like, how Doom's kind of like a big villain. How like he takes a skateboard and then he's like, he doesn't even wear a green costume anymore. It's just all very weird, and I don't like that too much. But overall, it was a pretty good movie. I really like Silver Surfer in it. I like Johnny. I like the Thing, and I like Reed. So yeah, just I just Sue Storm could be a less of a bitch, and and Galactus could be the guy in. If Galactus was the comic accurate Galactus and if Doctor Doom wasn't in the movie, it would be a much better movie. But ultimately, I still like this movie. So yeah, anyways, that's it for Rise of the Silver Surfer. On to fant4stic. Fant4stic is almost certainly the one that is almost certainly the Fantastic Four movie that gets the most hate, and that like okay, so I'm gonna give my thoughts on it. I don't think it's certainly not that bad. Because first off, the big problem with this is that it does not get the spirit of Fantastic Four down. And this was whether there was studio meddling or not. Josh Trank was always gonna make it a dark, depressing movie, a dark, very bleak body horror film. Right? That's not what the studio didn't change it to be like that. That's something that Josh Trank was originally gonna do, which is his biggest mistake because Fantastic Four is not body horror. Fantastic Four, it's all colorful and it's very comic accurate because instead of wearing blue suits with big fours in the middle, they wear black suits, like completely black suits. They do some cool stuff with it. Like for example, Johnny's one has four things and four lines in the corner, kind of like Fantastic Four, which is kind of cool. But I would still just prefer the comic accurate suits much over it. Also, Ben doesn't have any pants. Why doesn't Ben have any pants? He goes into the zone, he gets out. So Ben just letting his thing out. So so yeah, that was weird. I think that it was kind of stupid to race swap the storms, and if you're gonna race swap the storms, then go all in on it. Because Michael B. Jordan is a good pick for Johnny. I'll go into more casting later, but yeah, if they're gonna race swap the storm, just go all in it. Go all in it. So don't make Sue adopted. That's just weird. Also, it's weird that how does Sue get powers? So the boom was so big that it went through the computer. That's just a whole another level of stupid. Yeah. And this is a very uncomic accurate film, and some of the stuff that he had planned was even more uncomic accurate. For example, Doom was supposed to be a hero of Galactus, and then he was also supposed to be, I think it's Annihilus, but I don't know. He's a character who's in Fantastic Four. I might have got that wrong, but I think it's Annihilus, who was supposed to be a dragon, which he's not a dragon. He has wings, but he's not like a dragon. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. The leader guy in here who plays the leader in Incredible Hulk and in Captain America: Brave New World, he was supposed to be Mole Man, and he just gets his head blown off. It's really weird. Yeah. I'm sure this is odd. It's an odd movie, so yeah. I don't like the fact that it's clobbering time comes from Ben's older brother who used to beat him. He used to say it's clobbering time before he beat him. That's why? Why can't you just have him say it's clobbering time, right? I like the fact that he says it's clobbering time, but it comes from an abusive household. I don't want to see that. Yeah. But yeah, okay, just getting into some of the positives. I think I'll go a little bit more just through a traditional going through the movie here. We start off, we start off. First off, I like the cast, all the cast. I want to say I like the cast, but I like most of the cast. Some of them are okay. Ben and Sue are really the ones who are okay. I don't really like them. They're fine. They get the job done, but they're not anything special about it, right? But talking about Johnny, I really like Johnny in here. He's not as good as the Chris Evans version, and he's not as much as the comic version, but he's a little bit more of a quieter, received version. And every now and then he'll throw in a good joke, and it'll be pretty funny. So Reed. Now he's not as good as the other Reed. I'm sorry, I forget his name again, but he's not as good as the other Reed. But it's a different version. I do like the fact that he's more kind of realistic. I know it's a realistic review, but whatever. I like the fact that he's he's more socially awkward, probably autistic, more realistic in that way, and that's pretty cool. And kind of crazy and stuff. I like that aspect. I even think that Victor Von Doom did a pretty good job here. Although I think that he okay, so just going through the movie a little bit more. So yeah, we start off, they do the whole thing. it's weird that they get disqualified for showing them teleportation. Like, okay, listen, Ben and Reed show their teacher teleportation, and their teacher goes, "You're disqualified," and you in a science fair they show them teleportation, that they built a teleporting device that they built in their garage. At that point, you're like, get this kid a college degree. This kid obviously wins the science fair. No way he doesn't win the science fair at that point. Like, what? What are you thinking? It's literally he just teleported in front of you, and you said you're disqualified. That guy's an idiot. You know, he broke the backboard, sure, but like, and he says it's not a magic show; it's a science fair. I don't see any science, and he showed you how he did it. Like, seriously, man. Like, actually, he's like a dumbass, bro. But yeah. So yeah, that was stupid. But yeah, then he does get into the Baxter. He gets into the Baxter School, which is a cool Easter egg inside the Baxter building. You know, the thing is, which is then Ben doesn't go there too, which is stupid because, you know, I know Ben isn't the smartest guy, but you know, he's like an average kid who's been building this for years, so he should know more than an average person about how to build this thing, right? So why are you keeping him on to help build it? Because he's already built one of these in a garage with scraps. So yeah, he knows how to build it. He's been building this for years. So yeah, that's stupid. And then yeah, but yeah, also misses out on an opportunity because you're supposed to really like that. You're supposed to really know the relationship between Ben and Reed, and you kind of get that in the start, but then when he goes off to college, you don't see him until he calls him drunk. So, you know, he calls him when he's drunk and he's like, "Hey, let's go do this ship." So you don't see him until then again. So that's odd. And then because then you build up more chemistry. You see them interact, but therefore you care about their friendship more. It's just if he was there, it would make the movie and their relationship just better in general. But yeah. So that was stupid. But yeah, I do really like this, like, first a little bit. I really like half the movie. Like, I think half the movie is really good because, yeah, like I said, there's mistakes in here, but you know, I like them building. I think the actors' chemistry is really good. So yeah. There are mistakes, a lot of mistakes made, and it's still too dark and gritty. But it's the first act, so it's not. It's the first half of the movie, so it's not that dark and gritty. It's more so just like, you know, it's not really that dark and gritty because they're more so having fun here. But you know, then there's obviously a change when they go to the second dimension. You know, and you understand. I also like they do make it do make you understand why they go there. Like, although I do think that Reed probably should have like when Victor asked, who built the spaceship. I think that would have been funny if Reed just like said who built it because Reed would definitely know that. And then he's like, well, a normal person. You could still make the point come across. But yeah, I do like that. You know, it makes you like be like, it makes you understand why they're doing this, and you'll be like, yeah, I would probably do that too. So yeah, although it should have been 4 slots because it should have been 5 slots because it has 4 slots for the Fantastic Four, haha. Right, but like it should have been 5 slots so Sue could go with him. It's also weird that they didn't try to get Sue on the ship, who also was a scientist. Instead, they went for Ben, and I understand Ben being there. Just have Ben there, but also have Sue there. That way, it makes sense how Sue got her powers instead of her being on a computer screen watching it and then getting hit with that radiation. That's just stupid. Because that's just a stupid explanation of how she got her powers then, instead of just going with him. See, there are just mistakes that make this movie just worse, and if they fixed up some, it would make the movie much better, in my opinion. So, then you get to the second half of this movie, and yeah, I don't like the body horror. I don't like the fact that he's like scared and stretched out. Like, that's not who the Fantastic Four is. The Fantastic Four are fun, or all this stuff. They're not body horror things. It's like weird because Johnny is like screaming in pain from getting on fire when Johnny shouldn't feel anything. Ben. There's even a part where Reed later on does it hurt? And he says, I got used to it. Like, Jesus Christ, Ben's in continuous agonizing pain. Like, I like Ben's story. You don't need to make him be in continuous agonizing pain. Until he just eventually gets used to it. The fact that Sue's just switching. Reed's in pain. Screaming creeped out because he's all stretched out and stuff. That's just stuff I don't really want to see. But then getting into the third act, they find Reed, all that stuff. He helps them redo the machine, and then they go, which is that's a missed opportunity for them not to go back to the Phantom Zone or Planet Zero, I guess. I think they probably should have went back there, and yeah, sure, it might not make 100% sense of how of why they would put him back there, but it makes more sense than them just putting in random astronauts, because then if another accident happens, they won't be affected. Also, they're lab tests who nobody knows about, so they could, if they died, the government could very easily cover it up, right? The same way they covered up them going there in the first place. So if all four of the Fantastic Four went to go find Doom, that would have made more sense. So that's all I'm saying. There was some cut cool stuff. Like, for example, sometimes the realistic stuff could make some stuff cool. There is a reference to the Fantastic Car, and there's supposed to be a Fantastic Car, which is supposed to be a normal car turned flying, which is kind of cool. And then there's supposed to be Herbie in this movie, which I'm excited to see Herbie in Fantastic Four First Steps finally, because I love Herbie. Yeah, there's supposed to be Herbie in this movie. He was supposed to be floating on a soccer ball, which is pretty cool. So that, but unfortunately we didn't get that. Which sucks. I would have preferred to see that. But yeah. But then they get into the third act. Doom kills Franklin Richard. He kills Mole Man, and there was a really cool scene of him just walking through the hallway, getting shot at, but he's using a force field, so he's just deflecting the bullets, blowing up people's heads. That was a really cool scene. And then when he goes to the second dimension, he starts destroying the earth and stuff. And then I do like the teamwork they have of he's powerful than each one of us, but he's not powerful than all of us. And then you get to see his clobbering time. You get to see them working together, which is really cool. So yeah, even if they kill off Doom here, which is stupid. But yeah, he was supposed to be Herald Galactus in the original script, which is weird. So was Galactus supposed to come out? No, just a weird. It was originally supposed to be a really weird movie, but yeah. And then to save the day, they get their own building, which I assume would become the Baxter Building. But the Baxter Building was already used for a college, so I guess they got that. I think it would have been cooler if in that scene there's oh, let's call it the Baxter Building after the college we went to. Except instead it slightly gets teased, but not really. There is a reference because they say Central City. It's most people just call it the Central City, which is it's in reference to the 60s, because in the 60s instead of them being in New York, they had their own city called Central City, which is also the same city that the Flash does crime fighting in. So that's a coincidence. But then eventually just changed to New York, which I'm really pissed off that in the new movie. So in the new movie, it pissed me off that it's in an alternate universe. First off, it should just be in the MCU. They've been always sending us up Fantastic Four in the MCU. No, it's not in the MCU. It's in another universe. Come on, it's not the MCU. It's in another universe. It's in an MCU multiverse. It's bullshit. It pisses me off. But whatever. But they have one. And they could have still made it set in the 60s, even if it was in an alternate universe. You could have done that. It's just bullshit. I mean, even if it was in the main MCU, it's just bullshit. It pissed me off. But whatever. Instead of New York there, they could have called it potentially Central City as just a reference to the old comics. It's also in another universe, so it's taking advantage of the fact that it's in another universe. So yeah. But yeah, I think they should have done that, but then it was just another missed opportunity. So yeah. But yeah. And yeah, they get the building, and I do like the references to the names. It says Human Torch and the Torchettes. Obviously Human Torch, and there's the thing that nobody wanted. So yeah, I like that. I like the references there, but it was. I mean, the moment has been memed the hell out of. Like, it's fantastic. Say that again. It's fantastic, guys. I got it. Oh my god. Like, it's such a corny moment, and it's like it's worse that they didn't even say the name Fantastic Four. They just cut the credits. Cut the credits. fant4stic. So yeah. So yeah, that was stupid. Whatever. I still do like this movie. Now it is probably the second worst out of the Fantastic Four movies, and that's just because the 1994 one is so bad. And yet, so yeah, those are my thoughts on. And those are my thoughts on Rise of the Silver Surfer and fant4stic. So yeah, and leave comments. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.